second bad, but somebody.
Today I'm continuing with the Kendrick Lamar series where I break down how to make beats inspired by his new album GNX. Last week we did a 2-pack inspired beat similar to Reincarnated, but today we're going to be doing some club bangers inspired by Squabble Up and TV Off. Make sure you stick around for the second beat especially, where we're going to dive into some DJ Mustard tips and you're going to hear how easy it is to get the club jumping immediately. So let's dive straight into it. Starting off with Squabble Up, the main elements of this beat are going to be a lot of space, especially in the drums, following a very specific rhythmic pattern which I'll show you in a second. Then a lot of random electro, squiggly, weird synth sounds that are going to fill the rest of the beat out. Now starting off with a clap, we'll just drag this into the usual positions. Nothing special there. Next we can do the hi-hat, which has a really simple pattern, but it's so effective at creating a little bounce. So one before the clap, and then one after. Now this isn't a necessary step, but you can just see I've changed the amount of gain on each one just to make it have a bit more of a bounce, but it's a really, really subtle difference. Now I want to drag in another hi-hat just as a loop, just to complement this, and we can add a shaper box to do some cool rhythmic effects to it. So for this I'm just going to look at my kits from Prod by Infinite, who's one of the best West Coast producers on YouTube, so definitely check out his stuff. I'll put his link down below. Now like I said, we can throw on a shaper box, and I like to use this specific preset, Sliced Rhythm, because it just does some cool stuff, especially when you use it on perk loops and hi-hat loops. Now together it just starts building a bit more of an interesting polyrhythmic pattern. Next up we're going to do the kick. To be honest, you don't really need to have a kick. You can have an 808 just doing the heavy lifting here, but I like to always layer it with a kick just to give it a bit more punch. So definitely one of the most basic kick patterns that I've seen in any beat, but it just works so well, especially because it gives so much space for the rapper to do their thing. Now like I said, the 808 is going to do the exact same pattern, and the 808 I'm using is just a simple cymatics one. I want it to be quite short, so you can mess around with the ADSR to get it sounding exactly how you want, but this is how I've got mine sounding. Now the drums are done, the 808's done, you've got the basic foundation. From here you can just have a lot of fun with it, throw in some random squiggly sounds and then just leave it there. So firstly I have this sample from a splice, which is a synth bass sound. All I'm going to do is EQ out a lot of the lows so that it's not as low as the 808. And then what I'm going to do is just pitch it up 15 semitones. And then we can just chop up some of the hits and change the pitches of different things so it has a little bit of a progression to it. Then finally again with a shaper box just to do something a bit more random and weird with it. Now we're going to use Serum to throw in some random MIDI lines, just doing like different things with lead sounds. So we'll start off with something like this. Random as hell, but you can always chop out the good bits. Find another sound. These are all just presets that come with Serum. You don't really need to do anything special. There's enough good stuff in there. And then we'll do another Serum. I'm literally just duplicating these tracks and finding different weird sounds to use. And really that's all you need. Now all I have to do is just throw on the acapella, see how it sounds on top, and it should sound as bouncy as the original.
Life goes on, I need her, my babies. Woke up looking for the broccoli. High key, keep a horn on me, that could my seat. IP ownership, the blueprint is by me. Mr. Get Off, I get off at my feet. A ye nigga couldn't try me in a tri-state. Money pass, but I give him splash till he hydrated. Out south, Millie Spook Town, eyes dilated. I got the money and the power, both gyrating. I feel good, get the fuck out my face. Look good, but she don't got no ties. I walked in, walked out with the side. Man, go, let me know what the pay. What the fuck, I got hits, I got...
So now moving on to the TV off type of beat, which is of course a DJ Mustard special. Similar to Not Like Us, this is all about simplicity and bounce. So as long as you've got the groove right and then you've got a decent working sample, you can pretty much make anything sound good. So we'll start off by just putting the clap in the standard 2 and 4 position. Next for the hi-hat, there's a specific rhythm that we want to copy here, which is just a really nice little bounce. Next up, we want to throw in a kick, and the main point of this is just to add a bit more punch to the 808, which we're going to do afterwards. And this is a pretty typical DJ Mustard West Coast pattern that he's been using for years. All we want to do is just have the kick essentially do the same thing as the hat. So it's just those 3 hits at the beginning, which we do with the hi-hat, the kick, and we'll probably also do with an open hat as well. And then we're going to leave a big space. And then you see that the last kick is just layered with that last clap. From there, you've got the essential drums that are needed to do a DJ Mustard type beat. Now, just to make it more similar to TV off and add a bit more extra hype to it, an open hat layered with those kicks will work wonders. Now you can play around here and not have it copy the kick exactly. You could have less or more, whatever worked in terms of your beat. But to be honest, I just like throwing them as much as possible because it just adds to the hype, especially when you come to the chorus of the beat. Now when it comes to finding a sample for this, you can pretty much find anything and chop it in a way that will work. However, if you want to make sure that it's super hype, especially that TV off, you want to do something with horns, something very orchestral. So for this beat, I'm going to sample Quincy Jones. Rest in peace to, I think, the greatest producer of all time. I've been listening to a lot of his stuff recently, including that infamous Kill Bill soundtrack. So we're going to drag in Ironside, which is that Kill Bill soundtrack. And we just really want to use the horn section, so we can just chop out everything until the bit we need, and then we can just like drag it, mess around with the pitch and make it work. I think pitch it down, and then we could just literally chop out the hits that we need and then get it on time to match those 3 kicks, those 3 notes that come at the beginning of the drums. Now that lines up perfectly with the kick, so if we play it all together, it should sound pretty epic. Like I said, you can't go wrong with horns. They just always sound grand, big and epic. Now next up, the 808, just make sure we're playing the right notes. You could use a lot of different 808s for this. I'm using something that I've just manipulated to make sure that it has enough of a sort of decay and punch to it that it goes with the rest of the drums. Now what I want to do just to make this even more grand is just layer in my own trumpets from BBC Symphony Orchestra. So when it comes to like the drop, the hook, whatever, it will just be really big. And honestly, it's as simple as that. So now all we have to do is just put on the Kendrick Lamar a cappella and it should still sound really good, really grand, really epic.
Mustard! Niggas acting bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas, but somebody gotta do it. Turn this TV off, turn this TV off. Turn this TV off, turn this TV off.
So I hope you found this useful. If you haven't seen it, make sure you check out my previous video where I showed how to make a Tupac inspired beat. Otherwise, make sure you stay tuned for the next one where we're going to be going into some smoother vibes. Have a good one. Peace out.
Turn this TV off, turn this TV off. Mustard! Niggas acting bad, but somebody gotta do it. Got my foot up on the gas.